You've probably heard someone say they made 10% last month, or that their strategy averages 30% annually. Sounds impressive, right? Well, maybe. Today, I want to pull back the curtain of some of the most deceptive statistics that exist in investing. The kind of numbers that sound smart, but can lead you straight into trouble if you don't know what to look for. For those of you that are new here, my name is Mark Anderson. I'm a construction worker turned 0DT hedge fund manager, and I've sold over $50 million in 0DT premium across over 1,000 consecutive market trading days. I hope this video helps you see through the statistical fog that a lot of fund managers, influencers, and even retail traders throw around. The most common statistical trap. Let's start with one of the biggest offenders, the average return. When people talk about average returns in investing, they often use the number that sounds better than what actually happens to your money. That's the arithmetic mean. You'll hear people talk about the arithmetic mean of returns. The stock market, on average, has returned 12% a year. But the number that really matters for your bank account and your sanity is the geometric mean. This is your actual compounded return after ups and downs. Let me explain both. Imagine this. You have a $100 allowance. In year one, you make a 50% return. You now have $150. In year two, you lose 50%. You now have a $75 in your account. So after 2 years, your money went from 100 to 75. But let's take a look at the average return. The trick of the arithmetic mean, aka the simple average. Here's how the arithmetic mean works. Plus 50% plus minus 50% divided by 2 equals a 0% average return. Sounds okay, right? Like maybe you broke even, but you didn't. You lost 25%. That's the problem with the arithmetic mean. It doesn't account for compounding effect and the ups and downs of investing. It looks fine on paper, but it lies to you and your wallet. The truth about the geometric mean, aka what actually matters. The geometric mean asks, what single percent return every year would you give me as a final result? It's a fancy way of calculating your real compounded return over time, considering how 1 year affects the next. In our example, you started with $100, ended with 75 after 2 years. So what's the compounded return? The geometric mean is the square root of 1.5 times 0.5 minus 1, or negative 13.4%. Translation, you didn't make 0%, you lost 13.4% a year on average, which is much closer to your real experience on your shrinking balance. As an example, the S&P's arithmetic mean since 1970, around 12%, but its geometric mean closer to 10.5%. That's the difference. It's the cost of volatility. You're paying for drawdowns, whether you realize it or not. How to use this as an investor? When someone says we average 20% a year, ask them, is that the arithmetic mean or the geometric yearly return? What's the compounded return after fees and drawdowns? If they don't know or don't want to say, you should be suspicious. Why the path of return matters more than the average of the return. Most people look at investing stats like this. This strategy averages 10% a year. Seems solid, but here's the problem. Just because the average return is 10% doesn't mean your money will grow by 10% every year, or even that you'll make money at all. Let me explain why using something called ergodicity. And don't worry, I'll make this simple. Imagine you're playing a game. Let's say you play a game 100 times with a bet size of $100. The game has a 95% win rate or a 90% expected return for each dollar you bet. When you win, you double your money. When you lose all of your money and go bust. If you pooled 100 people to play this game once, the average result might be great. But if you played this game a single 100 times in a row, you are guaranteed to blow up because your average return is only amazing on paper. That's what non-ergodic means. The average of the group is not the same as what one person experiences over time. Real world example, retirement. Say you retire with $1 million. If the stock market crashes early in your retirement before it recovers, it could wreck your entire plan. even if your average return over those 20 years looks great at 12%. You're withdrawing during the worst possible years in a drawdown. Same return, very different results. That's what's called the sequence of returns risk, and it's one of the biggest reasons average returns can be misleading. Your money moves through time, not in averages. You don't live in a spreadsheet where everything balances out nicely despite what your financial advisor tells you. You live in real time where one bad year can hurt you more than 3 great ones 5 years later. That's why the path of returns matters much more than the average return. What to look for instead if you're evaluating a strategy, don't just ask, what's the average return? Ask, did those returns come steadily or did they bounce around? A steady return is different from wild swings that average out. You want to know what the ride actually felt like, not just where it ended. What happens if the worst year happens first? This puts pressure on a strategy to perform in real-world environments and retirement scenarios, not just a hypothetical spreadsheet. What would this look like if I withdrew my money regularly, like for income? This surface, the hidden danger of sequence risk, especially relevant to retirees or people drawing out cash to live on, because you only get one shot at this path and there's no rewind button in investing. Max drawdown is the red flag nobody talks about. You can make 100% in a year, but if you took a 50% drawdown to get there, you might not survive long enough to enjoy it, even if your average return is above 30% a year. I always tell people a 20% drawdown with leverage can easily become 40%. And that's how people's futures blow up. If someone's stats look great, ask them, what was your worst drawdown and when did it happen? Was that during the month, or are you only reporting month-end data to hide it? That one question alone can reveal a lot. Context is everything, and so is the time frame. You can cherry pick almost any period to make numbers look good. From 2009 to 2021, the S&P looked like a dream, 15% return compounded a year. From 1999 to 2009, you lost money after inflation. Same index, different decades, different story. So don't just ask, what's the return? Ask, over what time frame? How did it perform through recent crashes in 2000, 2008, 2020, and 2022? Those are the stress tests that matter. Part 5, the metrics that actually matter. If you want to compare strategies apples to apples, start with these. Max drawdown. What's the worst it's ever done? What did that look like intra-month and at end of month? Sharpe ratio or Sortino ratio? How much return are you getting for each unit of risk? I go in depth with both of these in a recent video I'll link in the description about risk-adjusted returns. MAR ratio. That's your compounded return divided by your maximum drawdown over that period. What is your beta? The beta shows a skill-based return. If they got market returns with a higher beta, that return is purely from the product, like leverage or additional day-to-day volatility. Then compare those across 5, 10, and 20-year periods, not just 12 months of cherry-picked gains. Rebalancing is the real secret weapon. If you want to smooth volatility and survive long-term, rebalancing is key. If an investment grows, you trim it and you rebalance it. This isn't flashy, but it's what gives you long-term durability. Shannon's Demon is a great example of how this can create a free lunch from diversification. It's one of my more popular videos, so if you haven't checked that out, I'll link it in the description below. At the end of the day, every investment, yes, every single one, will likely take an 80% drawdown over the course of your lifetime. This doesn't mean you lose 80% of your money, but that opportunity cost, inflation, or decade-long stagnation can have the same effect. So do this. Always compare stats across time frames. Dig into how numbers are calculated, understand the real risk, not just the shiny surface, and remember, the biggest risk in your portfolio isn't market volatility. It's you not knowing what to look for. If you found this video helpful, drop a comment below. What is the most misleading investment stats that you've ever seen? Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.